There are so many infrastructure needs. There is a lack of funding. There's a lack of time. And finding a way to collaborate amongst project stakeholders across the board will truly help us find success in meeting all the infrastructure needs that we have across the industries.
Hello and welcome to the Pumps and Systems podcast. I am your host, Tom Baer, a managing editor at Pumps and Systems magazine. Today we're speaking with Guy Voss, president of the Water Collaborative Delivery Association, or WCDA. He's going to be telling us about collaborative delivery methods in the water industry, what they are, why they're useful, and how you can learn more. So without any further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, so welcome to the Pumps and Systems podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So today we're going to be speaking about collaborative delivery methods in the water industry. But before we get into that, would you mind introducing yourself? So tell us a little about who you are, what you do, anything you'd like to share.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. My name is Guy Voss. I'm the vice president and the director of the collaborative delivery business for HDR, an engineering and architecture company. In addition, this year I have the privilege of acting as the president of the Water Collaborative Delivery Association. So that's a lot of what I'll be speaking from today is from the WCDA. But about 30 years in the industry, I'm an environmental engineer by background and have done all forms and used all forms of collaborative delivery across the country and around the world.
All right. So then moving into our main topic, let's start off, as we often do on this podcast, with just the absolute basics. So what is collaborative delivery? How would you explain it to someone who has no idea what it is or how it's different from more traditional project delivery models?
So, Tom, collaborative delivery is an umbrella term that we use to encapsulate a variety of project delivery methods where contractually the utility owner, or the project owner, I should say, is bound and to the contractor and the engineer, usually at an early stage of the project's life cycle, concept or even design. And contractually, that team is meant to work together, collaborate, as you might say. And that's most basic form contractually, how things are pulled together. And that's different than a traditional design bid build model, where the contract doesn't pull the teams together, the owner, the contractor, the designer, until much later in the life cycle. And so again, its most basic form. Collaborative delivery holds a number of those methods. Those methods might include traditional fixed price design build, progressive design build, construction management at risk, CMAR, CMGC, GCCM. Additionally, P3, when you get outside of the US, alliancing or other contracting methods that aren't used as much in the United States. So collaborative delivery, umbrella term for all those different methods where you're contractually bound to work together or collaborate between the project owner, contractor, engineer, and many other stakeholders in those different organizations.
So what do you find is driving the adoption of collaborative delivery methods? What are some of the main reasons why it's being sought out more and more as an option?
You know, I always flippantly say it's more fun. You're working together as a team from the beginning. Generally you're working to partner and really put a project first mentality. You're not putting your organization first. And that project first mentality generally drives nicer, more fun behaviors. But, at its other simplest form is, the utility industry and our utility infrastructure is vast and a lot of it's failing. And we have many, many needs all over the country and around the world. And these collaborative methods generally will help us get to solutions faster. They'll help us understand a cost earlier in a project lifecycle. They'll understand a schedule earlier in a project's lifecycle. And that certainty, that earlier certainty, helps with utility owners plan for and pay for a lot of the infrastructure needs. So lots of infrastructure needs, not enough money to do that. These methods help us understand what it costs and how the schedule is going to shake out. In addition, just staffing. There's not enough people, to do all of this work. And so collaborative delivery usually, by pulling people together, allows us to get more done, oftentimes with fewer people. So A, lots of infrastructure needs. B, cost and schedule certainty to get those infrastructure needs built. C, it's more fun when you bring everybody together earlier in the project.
All right. Yeah, all very good reasons, especially it's more fun. Okay, so next, let's talk about some of the challenges that utilities might face when it comes to adopting collaborative delivery. So what are some of the risk management challenges, especially when it comes to bid processes and things like that?
as we mentioned, traditional design bid build has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so from a legal standpoint, if not a political standpoint, that method, which is the contractor that has the lowest contract cost, the lowest bid, wins the job. And it's transparent, from the start what that cost is. The problem and the reality with that was that that bid price was probably missing something because the contractor wasn't a part of the design. So that bid price would go up via change orders or other costing methods as the project went forward. So a major risk mitigation here is just, again, back to that cost certainty earlier in the job. That's one of the risk factors that collaborative delivery helps overcome. So that misunderstanding of cost and risk. I think the other risk management that this overcomes back to schedule. And so most projects could drag on and on and on because the project stakeholders weren't working together to fully understand and develop what the project looked like. So as I said before, cost certainty, schedule certainty, those are some of the risks that we're driving and we're trying to overcome through the use of collaborative delivery. I mentioned before too about so other risks as the WCDA, DBA, other organizations in the water industry have found are innovation risks. The fact that we have new and emerging contaminants that we need to treat. And so we need to get innovative ideas, both from a design and a technology standpoint, but sometimes a construction and a construction method standpoint. So cost, schedule, and then innovation risk, we're trying to overcome and get ahead of the risk of needing new and different innovative ideas to overcome the challenges in our water industry.
What do you think is stopping some water professionals from wanting to adopt collaborative delivery, and how would you address their concerns?
I think I'll take this one from a couple of different stakeholders. So we'll say the project owner, or in a lot of cases, the utility owner. So that's one group. You've got contractor folks, you've got engineer folks, and then I'll take another one, regulatory folks. And let's start there. Regulatory teams generally are bound by the laws of the state or the municipality, and they simply can't use a collaborative method. It's legally, they legally can't. So that's where the WCDA, DBIA, others help change the laws in the states to make collaborative delivery methods legal and useful and applicable, to those different states. So that's the regulatory side. Let's go over to the project owner and the utility owner side. Oftentimes they're bound by that law, so we help get that fixed. But then oftentimes they're just bound by, I'm not used to this. I don't know, a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding. And so training can help overcome that. In addition, folks, again, have a lot to do. And so most people, when asked, like, if you're going to change what I'm doing today, that's going to slow me down. That's going to take me more time. And so I think folks get stuck on, I need to do a bunch. I don't want to change because it'll take me more time. Therefore, I'm not going to change from my traditional method that I'm used to, design bid build, to some of these collaborative methods. So legally, change management, those type of things. On the engineer and the contractor side, again, I'll just come back to misunderstanding or lack of understanding. Engineers and contractors in our traditional world oftentimes would say they would have conflict, right? The engineer says, I have to do this. The contractor says, I want to do it a different way. And then you have conflict. And so I'll say scar tissue is one of the reasons some engineers or contractors don't want to use a collaborative method. They have misunderstanding and a little bit of angst between each other. But back to the fun part that I mentioned earlier, when you bring people together, when you have a project focus and you're all working towards that project, it overcomes that scar tissue, helps people understand that they can, if not should, work together and things get done better when they're working collaboratively. So that's, I think, answers the different breadth of, the different stakeholders there when we talk about the people and why they might choose not to use a collaborative method.
Yeah, and as far as changing the regulations, I imagine that's kind of a difficult and time-consuming process.
Indeed, and agreed. And so, but important, right? As we've done research, WCDA has done research, DBIA has done research. We've seen that, like I've said before, that these methods help get projects delivered better. In fact, that's the WCDA's tagline: better projects together. And so, once that understanding, comes to light, then it's amazing how state regulators, state lawmakers will work together to get the laws put in place that allow us to use these methods. But it is a long process. I personally helped change the laws in the state of California. The WCDA has pushed and changed the laws in the state of California. We're working in Texas and in many other places to get laws opened up to use the collaborative methods. But it takes a lot of time.
So the WCDA was founded in 2006, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so how has collaborative delivery evolved since then? Has it changed much over the last 10 years?
I'll start with yes, it's changed, and then so much has stayed the same. And so, what has changed? We've hit on this a lot today. Is it's been being used more and more often. So those collaborative methods I talked about, fixed price design build, progressive design build, CMAR, CMGC, we'll use those basic ones. That's being used more and more often over time. So higher use has changed. I mentioned fixed price design build versus progressive design build. Just the model of progressive design build is new and different since 2006, roughly. So the laws in the states that we talked about have changed to allow for progressive design build versus fixed price design build. So the types of collaborative methods have changed. More use of collaborative methods, types of collaborative methods have changed. I'll say that the understanding of the practitioners, the designers, the contractors, we've gotten better at using these methods, and so our expertise has increased. I'll say on the project owner side, similarly, many owners have used this, and their expertise has increased. So all those things I would say are positive: more use, more prevalent use, and then higher expertise across the board. So the things that haven't changed are the roots of why and how you use a collaborative method, and that's that word right there: collaboration. The things that haven't changed is that we all understand when we work together, when we start together, when we're focused on the projects. Those very basic foundational things have stayed the same and have really driven that increased use of our collaborative methods.
Okay, so if an organization is interested in transitioning to collaborative delivery, what steps do they need to take? What does that implementation process look like?
So in all cases, again, I'll go to our project owners, our engineers, and our contractors. The project owner needs to get ready. If you go out and you look for owner readiness, just Google owner readiness, DVIA and WCDA has done a lot of research to show that our project owners, our utility owners, need to get themselves ready. What does that mean? That means from their political leadership that are making the decisions, to their procurement side of the house, to the legal side of the house, down to their engineering and operations. All of those components of a utility owner's organization need to understand what's different about collaborative delivery, need to understand how they might need to behave differently when they're using collaborative delivery. And that is a major piece of research that has come to light over the last 4 or 5 years. Owner readiness. Having an owner champion, so someone within that project owner organization, that is a key to getting ready. Finding somebody that when the going gets rough, they're going to stand by the team and say, hey, we chose this method, we're going to keep using this method to get to find project success. So owner readiness, all that then, as you might imagine, comes with training, various types of training. So from legal training for the legal side of the house, procurement training, and then just implementation training. All of that training, both WCDA specifically for our water industry, has training that can help with all of that. So get ready via training. The same would go for our practitioners, the engineers, the contractors, and the supply chain that works in there, is make sure that our teams, have been trained as well. And as importantly, in all of these cases, to be ready is building a culture of collaboration. I keep using that word because it is so important that when you have a project focused mentality, not an individual or an organization focus, and when you work collaboratively as a team for that project focus, that is what will win the day every day. The other piece of research that I'll throw out here is when WCDA interviewed, I think it was about 24 utility owners through a research report. We found that there were 3 key things to project success and how to get ready for project success: people, processes, and tools. And I'll go back to the people part, that if any part of the people organization through all of this is not acting in that culture of collaboration, the project is probably going to stress towards potential failure. So get ready, get trained, and then find the people that are going to act with that culture of collaboration towards a project-focused mentality to drive for success.
So for anyone who's interested in learning more about collaborative delivery methods, is there any kind of learning opportunity or, for example, symposium coming up that could give them some more information?
Tom, it's like you knew it was our 20th anniversary. So yes, WCDA is celebrating our 20th anniversary. We're having a symposium, a big fancy birthday party to celebrate that. Part of that symposium will be some education sessions. So you can come to our symposium, celebrate with us, get educated, learn more about the WCDA and how to find more training, frankly. Because the WCDA on call at any time, any point of the year has training sessions that we can bring to any organization, any member, so any practitioner, member, contractors, engineers, supply chain that becomes a member of WCDA gets free training for their staff. Utility owners and project owners pay for some of that training. But training is always available. Come celebrate with us at our big 20th anniversary party symposium in Denver.
Okay. And when is that symposium?
The symposium is taking place July 27th through the 29th. So coming up here soon. It'll happen in Denver. It's a 3-day event. It starts with a golf outing, charity golf outing, plant tours for those of you that want to go see I think it's a water plant. Then we'll have a first day of education, followed by a big fancy gala, dress to impress is what we're saying, and then followed by a third day of education. And you can learn all about that at the Water Collaborative Delivery Association's homepage. Big button at the top that talks about the symposium.
All right. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share or any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
Final thought would be the theme that we've come along here all the way, that there are so many infrastructure needs. There is a lack of funding. There's a lack of time, and finding a way to collaborate amongst project stakeholders across the board will truly help us find success in meeting all the infrastructure needs that we have across the industry. So Tom, thanks for making time to talk about this important topic, and thanks to everyone listening for finding a way to utilize collaborative delivery in your day-to-day business practices.
All right. Yeah. And thank you to you for taking the time to be here on the podcast and talk to us about it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Huge thanks to Guy for taking the time to speak with us today about collaborative delivery in the water industry. If you're listening to the podcast and would like the chance to watch it, head over to our YouTube channel to see the full video version. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and we will see you next time.